My name's Branden. I'm a world traveler, foodie, and YouTuber. Together, you and I will find the best travel hacks, tips, and best places to explore. Join me as we find new adventures together, live only on IBM.TV. Hello, IBMTV. Welcome to Best of Travel. My name's Branden. Today we're going to talk a little bit about travel. We're going to take a break from some of the terrors and craziness and chaos of the world and chat a little bit about travel, international travel, domestic travel, food. If you don't know me, welcome. I host this show every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern here on IBMTV. You can also visit me online. I have a YouTube channel and a website where I talk all about great travel tips, travel hacks, some creative ways to have the best trip you can have every single time. The best part, of course, is that it's a live stream. It is live. So if you head on over to the IBMTV Facebook page or YouTube channel, you can leave a comment in the stream, bloop, down below. It'll pop up here, and I can answer your questions live. We can help you plan the best trip every time. This week, we're talking about something a little different. I've done some episodes now on kind of how to arrange the best travel for you, how to create the best travel environment, book the best travel. Today, we're going to talk about the future of travel. The future of travel after the pandemic. It's going to look very different. It's going to be a very, very, very different environment. So I thought, you know what? Let's do an episode on where we're at in the travel world and where we're going. Very, very strange places, and sometimes very, very fun places, and sometimes not so very fun places. So the travel world has been hit pretty hard by the pandemic. If you didn't know, welcome to March. Airlines were hit pretty hard. Cruise ships were hit pretty hard. All of the hospitality industry, the tourism industry was hit super, super hard with the pandemic. Now, the airline industry took a real walloping, and I did talk a little bit a couple weeks ago here on IBM TV about the challenges of the airline industry with the bailout kind of money they received from the U.S. government here in the United States. The promise was that they would get that money so long as they didn't have any mass layoffs until October. And here we are. It's October. And we're still in lockdown if we're responsible citizens. So what's shaping up for airlines? What's shaping up for cruise ships? What's shaping up for travel as a whole? Today, we're going to look at the future of international travel and a few key aspects. So make sure you stay tuned throughout the stream so that way you can hopefully get a good sense of what's coming down the line in travel. So if you're planning a future vacation or a future trip, I got your answers. I got what you need to know right here every Tuesday at 11. If you don't know a lot about me, first of all, you should go subscribe to my YouTube channel. But my name is Ryan. I spent 4 years traveling full-time before the pandemic. So when you're traveling full-time, you're in airports a lot. You're in and out of airports. You're in and out of airplanes, buses and ferry stations. Stations? Do ferries have stations? Terminals, ferry terminals, train stations. You're in and out of these kind of travel worlds a lot. And let me tell you, if you're looking for a nap, if you want to take a little sleep, a little shut-eye, I know the perfect place in the train station in Dijon, France for a nap. It's a secret I'll never tell. Perfect nap spot at the train station in Dijon. Okay, so let's start with airlines. Let's talk a little bit about airlines and some of the challenges that they've been facing. So, obviously there's not been a lot of air travel, and there won't be a lot for a while. I've talked before on this show a little bit about how experts think the airline prices will respond to the pandemic. So you should go back and watch the last few episodes if you're curious about what airfare will look like, what airline pricing will look like in the next few years. But let's talk now about the future, a different process. And let's start with the dreaded bum, 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 bum. Luke, I am your father. No, I'm sorry. Shouldn't Star Wars reference. I'm not even a big Star Wars fan. It's just fun to do with this big microphone. Let's talk about the dreaded check-in process. Checking in when you're coming in and dropping your bags, usually paying for a few surprise costs you didn't know about, going through security, all that kind of whole process. There's something really interesting going on here. There was actually a great New York Times article about this, and I'm going to reference it a little bit in the show today. But anyone who's traveled domestically and internationally will know that there's a big difference in how we do this process in the United States and how other countries do this process. We, of course, had the tragedy of 9/11 here in the United States. So the airport check-in procedure changed a lot then. It became very tight. It became very focused. There were barricades, winding lines, shoes off, body scans. The idea was to kind of funnel passengers together, to force them together into small winding areas, to kind of create some security or more security. And it really changed the face of American airports in the face of flying. Now, some airports abroad do have similar methods. A lot of places are using some body scanners. A lot of big airports, do have a kind of a similar process. It's a lot less funneled. It's a lot less restrictive in a lot of countries because, they didn't have that tragedy and they don't have as much of that concern as we do here in the States. So, I've definitely been to airports abroad where you walk in and the security, you walk in to check in and the security agent's a guy at a desk who says, "Do you have any weapons?" And you say no, and you just continue walking in. So it's definitely different abroad. Well, we're coming into some changes now. I think the check-in process at airports is going to look real different. Going to look very, 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 very different from what we know here in the United States. So there's a guy named Ty Osbo. I don't know how to say his last name. Osbo. He's the guy that they talked to in this New York Times article about airports and airport construction. He is a architect at a global firm called Gensler, which has built terminals at New York City's Kennedy International Airport, built South Korea, a couple different airports around the world. And he suggested in kind of this piece that they did that he's anticipating airports, especially the kind of pre-security area, to become much more spread out with a focus on keeping people moving through. Checking and move them in a big open area, wide spaces, instead of these tight lines, which is super, super likely. I think that's super interesting to think about. For me, it's easy to imagine a travel check-in process that has, a lot more like plexiglass, but in a big wide open room. That's something I can definitely imagine happening in our future. And it'll really, I think, change the face of travel for Americans, because the concern now is going to be to spread people out more. And to kind of keep them moving through a well-ventilated area so there's lower risk of transmission. And also health screenings might become a regular part of travel. I mean, we might be looking at, regular health screenings and temperature checks and extra visas and paperwork for a very long time. So if you're looking at book an upcoming trip, if you're looking at a year out, 2 years out and thinking, I'm going to go ahead and start planning a trip, think about, just like pause and think about that there's a lot of differences in travel. So if you're booking a trip in the future, you might want to think about, should I arrive at the airport a little early? Because chances are, if there is a new system that starts to come into play in airports for check-in and for security, it's going to confuse a lot of people. There's going to be backups. People are going to be unsure what to do, because it's been a couple decades now that we've had this kind of barricaded line system in airports. Now, I've shouted to all the rooftops into the void of the internet. Screaming into the void, because that's what I do professionally, screaming into the void of the internet that domestic travel is going to be huge in the next few years. And I don't just mean for us here in the United States, but I think abroad, everywhere, domestic and localized travel is going to be really, really popular. And I think on top of that, if we do see some extra protections coming into places like airports, advanced health screenings, more requirements for visas, some architects have even envisioned the idea of like using parking garages that people will kind of get funneled through in a big open space as opposed to like a tight line. So if we see some of these extra protections and kind of confusions coming into airports, we're definitely going to see a huge demand for road trips, for short domestic vacations, a lot of these kinds of things instead. So if you are planning a trip, maybe domestic is the way to go. Maybe a small local road trip is the way for you to go. So, airports will say, "Oh, good morning, Mark. Hi, Mark. How are you today?" We're talking all about the future of travel here on IBMTV. And you've heard me say it before, Mark. I know anyone who watches this show regularly has heard me say it many, 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 many times. Domestic travel is going to be where it's at, not just at home, but abroad. People are going to look for those small, localized road trips. They're going to have less money because so many people have been unemployed. B, the tourism industry is going to still be reeling and trying to recover, so there's going to be a challenge there. And C, people are going to be uncertain and feel unsafe and think it's better in their car, or in their RV, kind of driving around local areas, taking shorter trips. So airports, I think, are definitely going to look very, very different in the future. Not only for the health and safety reasons, but I think we're also going to see American airports, particularly, have a lot more visa paperwork required because Americans are not used to having to fill out visas. So airports will certainly see a lot of changes. But what about the cruise line industry? What about them big old boats? Big old boats. The Finding Nemo boats. Are they coming back? What's up with the cruise line? Well, I've got some bad news. I don't know if any of y'all are cruisers. Cruisers? Oh, that's fun. Is that what they call people who take cruises regularly? I've got some bad news for people who like cruise ships. Most travel experts are a little wary on the future of cruises. And if I were a travel agent, I would recommend everyone stay away from cruise ships for the foreseeable future. Being contained like that in a large group of people, even before there was a worldwide pandemic, there were still lots of concerns, health concerns about illness spreading. Now there's even more. So cruises, I think you're going to need a major overhaul, even more so than any airline or airport will, before they can lure passengers back again. And even so, I'd caution against being in that first wave because when it comes to cruising, when it comes to a cruise ship, when it comes to the pandemic, you don't want to be the test dummy. You don't want to be the subject, right? You want to kind of let the cruise industry have some time to sort out the kinks, let them some time to figure out how they're actually going to do some of these changes. And kind of sort out what they're doing before you jump into the fray. So I would definitely caution against cruise ships for a while. We're talking about things like passenger testing, PPE requirements, disinfection protocols. These are going to be important for every travel industry, around the world going forward. But cruise lines in particular are going to really need to ramp up some changes. They're going to need to go a lot further than this to make people feel safe. Actually, fun fact, Genting Cruise Lines, which is a Hong Kong cruise company, they own Crystal Cruises. If you've ever taken a Crystal cruise, they're announcing that the end of no more self-service buffets. No more self-service buffets, and they're also requiring a doctor's note for anyone over 70 saying they're fit to travel. These are implementations that I think cruise industries around the world should take when we start to open back up. Because self-service buffets are just rife with people drooling over the crab legs that have been sitting out in the hot buffet lights for 10 hours. But it's a lot of, open air breathing. It's a lot of kind of closed area. You're engaging with a lot of surfaces that are coming near your mouth and coming near your face. So definitely I'd say, let's get rid of buffets on cruise ships for a while. But also this interesting thing about having people over 70 get a doctor's note to say they're fit to travel, to take a cruise. So this may sound really harsh, but you have to remember the big difference between the cruise line industry and the airline industry. The cruise line industry it caters to a different crowd than the airline industry. The airline industry, their bread and butter, their money-making clientele is not leisure travel, it's business travelers. Business travelers are the bulk of the airline purchasers. So, they're younger usually, they're a little healthier. They're going to be a little more proactive in taking care of themselves. They're generally going to have, health insurance plans that are fancy, that are paid for by their company. They're going to be able to self-monitor a little bit better. The cruise ship industry, they cater towards an older crowd, a crowd that is typically more susceptible to COVID-19. So putting that older crowd in a giant bubble with the young entertainers and housekeepers and bartenders, where you've got concern of asymptomatic transmission, you've got concern of, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of cruises don't really offer health insurance to their employees. They may have some sort of limited health insurance while they're on board, but they don't really offer, any sort of advanced health insurance package to a lot of their employees. And they cater to a lot of employees from a lot of different countries. So there's a lot of different elements coming in to make up that younger crowd on the cruise ship, potentially making it more risky for the older demographic that may take cruises. So, I don't know, hot mess waiting to happen. I think cruises are something you want to steer clear of for a while, right? I mean, like, let's just agree they're bad for the environment and they're now bad for your health. So let's just pause. Let's just hit the big old pause button on that and kind of come back to cruises when we've figured out maybe a better way to do them. Once we have some more kind of health and safety standards in place, probably better to avoid that if you're looking to book some upcoming travel. See, for me, I'm young-ish, young and beautiful. Look at me. Look at these bags under my eyes. No, I'm just kidding. For me, I'm young. I would feel comfortable taking a flight with the proper precautions in the next few months. I would not feel that uncomfortable, hopping on a plane, because they do have really advanced air filtering. It is a pressurized environment, but it's a short-term pressurized environment where you're there with a big group of people. Most airlines are requiring, universal face masks, and they're really requiring, people to at least be cautious when they're traveling in some ways. And a lot of the international flights, people have to have negative tests to even get on that flight. So I would feel comfortable taking a flight, I think, in the next few months. I would not go near a cruise ship for a very, very, very long time. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Grinch, where they sing about, I wouldn't touch you with a 10.5-foot pole, or whatever the lyric is. That's how I feel about the cruise ship industry. I think that's just not the time now to go. Too risky, too spooky, too scary. Just not. They need a lot more major changes, I think, than we currently do in the airline industry. I say we, but I guess I mean the airline companies need in the airline industry. If you're just joining the stream, hello, my name is Branden. Welcome to Best of Travel here on IBMTV every Tuesday at 11. We're talking about the future of travel. We're talking about the future of travel post-pandemic, or in a world where the pandemic starts to subside, what it's going to look like. So if you're starting to think about itching to get out of the house. I know Mark was leaving a comment earlier that he was just dying for a road trip. I think everybody's itching and ready to get out and to have a little vacation. So if you're looking to plan one, I've got all the answers you need. You can tune in here every week at 11, and you can leave a comment here live on the show on the Facebook page, IBMTV Facebook page or YouTube channel, and we can chat live during the show so we can answer some of your travel questions, give you some travel tips. The one thing I won't answer, one thing I'll never tell, my biggest secret, I won't tell you where the great nap spot is at the train station in Dijon, France, because that's the secret I'll take to the grave. So we're steering clear of cruise ships. We're feeling okay about airlines. We think they're going to rebound a little bit. We think airports will look different. We think that there's going to be some changes there. A lot of experts are thinking, it's going to look a little bit different. And I think that's a big take home, right? So I've shouted from the rooftops before, domestic travel is the future for the next few years. That's a song I just wrote, a little jingle. It's free from me to you. Music producers, have fun. I think that, we're going to see the interesting areas of travel that we haven't seen in a while. So here in the States, we have this kind of familiarity. That's a hard word to say. With the road trip, it's kind of a nostalgic thing for us. We think about kind of the old days of road trips and driving, on Route 66. And I actually did a whole episode here on IBM TV with some road trips you can take. I gave you some great suggestions and tips. You can find, of course, all of these, backlogged episodes. And you can also find a lot of this information on my website, thebrandonscott.com. You can find it also on my YouTube channel. But, that's where we're going to be at. We're going to be in a land of road trips, a land of domestic travel. So if you are thinking about travel and you are looking at the future of travel, we're going to talk a little bit more about some other travel aspects here later in the show. But think about that road trip. Think about reviving that road trip. Go check that episode out where I gave you some great road trips you could take here in the United States. And think about maybe investing in like an RV, if that's something you're interested in. That business, I think, is going to boom in about 2 years. I think you're going to see it's going to go through the roof. But we're going to see a lot of interest in the road trip world. Even abroad, we're going to see a lot of interest in short, small, localized travel. So in countries like Europe, where it's easy to jump around from country to country, I think you're going to see, this is for you, Ben, if you ever watch the show, places like Exeter really get a big rebirth. The kind of beach towns, the kind of Brighton Beach kind of vibe, nostalgia that you have there. Across the rest of Europe, you're going to see, I think, the same thing. People are going to be more inclined to stay locally. So, maybe you aren't going from Paris to Rome for vacation. Maybe you're just hopping down to the south of France. Maybe you're not going from one country to another country. You're just going to the nearby beach or going to the nearby forests. So that's where it's really going to be, I think, in the future. I think you're going to see domestic travel be the kind of number one source for folks in the future here. So the other kind of couple things we're going to talk about later in the show, we're going to talk a little bit about hotels. We're going to talk a little bit about trying to get into other countries. As we come up to the election, listen, leave a comment below. Let me know. I'm debating, but I need your feedback. Get on that keyboard. I think I should do a whole episode on how to flee the country if you want to, right? So many people joke, I'm moving to Canada, or I'm going to leave the country if this and that happens in the American political system. So I think it would be a fun thought experiment, or maybe a helpful guide for you if you're interested in that sort of thing, to actually break down the visa process and what it would look like as an American to move abroad. So I might do a whole episode on that coming up closer to the American election, U.S. election, just for fun, just as a fun little ironic jest, I guess, or maybe as a useful guide. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know you. I don't know your life. I don't know. You tell me. But I think that would be fun. So leave a comment if you would be interested in something like that. Fun kind of side note. Did you know if you do decide to renounce your American citizenship, your citizenship here in the U.S., it's going to cost you $2,500 to $3,000, $2,500 to $3,000 just to renounce your citizenship for a country that you didn't pay to come into, or you were just kind of born into. You still have to pay to get out, which I think is super interesting and super kind of strange. A lot of countries do that. We do accept dual citizenship here in the United States. So if you are thinking, maybe I just want to run away, I'll do a whole episode for you on visas you can get and what the process is of immigrating somewhere else, or even just getting a residency visa somewhere else, or dual citizenship, which we do offer here in the United States. So if you just wanted to run away but still wanted to keep your ability to vote and your ability to pay U.S. taxes, maybe keeping that dual citizenship. So that might be something we do in the future. But today we're going to talk a little bit more about hotels. We're going to talk a little bit more about the kind of future of travel, what we're looking at after the pandemic. I mean, we've gone through some of the basics now on this show. I've talked about how to find some great flights. I've talked about how to, plan some great road trips, how to find some good deals. But we're going to talk now about what are we looking at, right? What are we looking at after the coronavirus pandemic starts to subside in the next few years? What does the next 5-10 years of travel look like? How different is it? I think for me, I think the airline industry is going to look very, very different. I think you're going to see slow, steady changes in the airline industry, because you've got now a whole slew, at least here in the United States, of people that have died. More people have died from the pandemic than have died, in a single day, than have died from 9/11, which drastically changed our airport environment. So, it is very possible that you see some of these sweeping changes. And I'll post a link to the New York Times article on my Twitter if you do want to read that full article. They do a lot of interviews with architects and travel experts and talk a lot about kind of the future of travel and where things are going. So with that being said, don't go away. Don't go anywhere. Stay right here live on IBMTV. You're watching the best of travel. My name is Branden, and we're talking all about the future of travel. Travel. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be expensive. When you think of travel, it can be easy to get overwhelmed, from pricey airline flights, dates of your hotel, navigating in Ubers and taxis in foreign languages, and currency exchange. It can feel really complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let me help you break down travel into some easy, simple steps so that way you can take the trip of a lifetime without breaking the bank or stressing yourself out. Travel is more complicated now than ever, so having a guide who's experienced to help you navigate the world of travel can be priceless. And it is priceless. It's free to watch here on IBMTV and free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I'll give you some great travel tips and advice. There's nothing quite like snapping that photo at sunset in Paris, trying great coffee in Colombia, or adventuring around Spain having a great sunny day. Even if you want to travel domestically, from budget travel guides in New Orleans, New York, Paris, and London, to luxury travel guides and everything in between, travel can be so much fun and so much more affordable than you think. I hope you're having a great time watching me here live on IBM TV. I have a ton of fun making Travel Tuesdays Travel with Branden, and I hope you're having a lot of fun watching. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, swing by my YouTube channel. You can find my YouTube channel full of great travel tips, some travel hacks, some food recommendations, city guides, budget travel tips, and so much more. Subscribing on YouTube is free to do, and it helps support me and continue making great travel content for you to see. You can also visit me online at thebrandenscott.com, where you can get even more travel advice, some great links, and some in-depth breakdowns of trips I've taken and trips you can plan. It's a great way to find a little bit of inspiration for your next adventure and some travel tips. I've got cities both domestic and international that you can check out. Find the best places to eat, the best things to see, the best things to do, and how to do it all affordably. Whether you want to stay at Airbnbs or 5-star luxury hotels, there are great ways you can do all of those things on a budget. Swing by my YouTube channel, give that big red subscribe button some love, and don't forget to visit thebrandenscott.com for even more travel tips. From great photos in Paris, to awesome food in Spain, to wild adventures in Colombia. If you want to adventure and you want to see more, this is the place to do it. Now back to, I guess, live me on IBM TV. Enjoy Travel Tuesdays and Travel with Branden.
And I run away out of all this gray. I just went out.
Welcome back. It's Best of Travel here on Travel Tuesdays at Travel Tuesdays. I don't know the right pronoun for that. My name is Branden. If you're just joining the stream, welcome. We're talking all about the future of travel, what travel looks like after the pandemic, how things will be different, how things will be better, how things will be worse. So if you're looking to plan your next trip or next vacation, I'm here. I've got you, girlfriend. We're going to do great. If you don't know anything about me, where have you been? You can go check out my YouTube channel or my website, thebrandenscott.com, for lots of great travel tips, hacks, advice. And I have to listen. I got to do a little pluggy plug here. I know this is tacky, but are you ready for this? I'm so impressed. I'm so proud. I'm wearing my own merchandise. Look at that. It says Explore in a fun graphic print. Look at that. It's like it could be I could be a ghost for Halloween. Anyway, so if you do want to support the YouTube channel, you want to support the website and all the content I make, you can go grab something fun from that Explore line just launched on my website a few weeks ago. We're in the last print now, so if you thought about getting something, now's the time to do it. And of course, you have to tune in every Tuesday here at 11 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, where we talk all about travel. We have a nice little escape from the chaos of the world. And we just envision going on a vacation again, or going on a trip again. Or for me, going back to work, I guess is what you would call it, since that's how I make my living, is about traveling. So you can tune in every Tuesday here. We're going to talk all about travel. We've so far kind of through the last few weeks of this show, we've talked a little bit about how to plan a good trip, how to budget for a good trip, how to manage your money, and some road trips. Now we're looking forwards. We're looking at the future of travel. So, not quite as fabulously, hilariously silly as some of my episodes here, because the future isn't always wonderful. It's a big, dark, scary place for us to get lost in. No, it does feel like it's March 4553rd because it's just been kind of one big blur, but here we are. So we're going to talk a little bit about the divide we have here when it comes to travel. New divide, new territory for us. The American passport used to have a lot of power, a lot of weight. It was the same weight as most passports, but it used to have a lot of metaphorical weight, and now not so much. In fact, some I guess you call them news websites, have come out with kind of ironic articles to say, now the New Zealand passport's the most powerful passport in the world. There's a lot of places we can't get into right now as Americans. At the last count that I did, 47 countries will let us in. Hi, Grant. Welcome to the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're talking about the future of travel today, and the bad news for us that like to travel, that like to adventure out and about and explore and have some fun, is that we can't really go international right now. And if you've listened to me at all, you know that I scream from the rooftops pretty regularly that domestic travel is going to be where it's at. It's going to be the place to go. And, I think that's going to be really, really impactful for us here in the future of travel. I think we're going to see that, travel leans real strong towards the domestic bent. So we have a hard time getting into a lot of countries right now. The American passport is not as hopeful as it used to be. I'm just going to rattle off some countries we can get into to kind of give you a sense of it. At my last count, it was, I think, 40. What did I say? I just said it. Jimmy says put Nashville on my list. I love Nashville. There's a big debate, it seems, in Nashville about what real barbecue is, whether or not it's the dry rubbed or the liquid barbecue sauce. What is it? What do you go for? I know when I lived in Texas, we had a very different idea of barbecue than the folks in Nashville. I love Nashville. I used to go Christmas shopping there. It's a beautiful place. So that's where we're going to be looking. We're going to be looking to places like Nashville. We've got 47 countries that'll let us in, which is not a lot. Kim says, I'm a favorite travel hacker. Look out for me. I'm the travel hacker. I'm basically the WikiLeaks of travel. I don't know. Don't extradite me or arrest me, but I'm basically the WikiLeaker of travel. So we have a tough time now with travel internationally. I'm just going to rattle off a couple of countries that we can still get into. There's not many of them. And a lot of them have a lot of extra requirements. We've got Albania, we've got Antigua, we've got Aruba, we've got the Bahamas, Bangladesh, we've got Belarus, Bermuda, Brazil, which is almost as bad as us right now. I don't know if you want to go there. Cambodia, Costa Rica, Croatia, Dominica. We got the Dominican Republic, we got Dubai, Ecuador, Egypt, Ethiopia, among a handful of other places, which sounds like good news. It's more countries are slowly starting to let us back in. Bad news is that a lot of them are requiring some super advanced visas, some super advanced tests. A lot of them aren't using the word visas, but they're saying you have to have a travel authorization to get into their country and have to take a test, right away. In fact, there's one country, I can't remember where, it's maybe Belarus or somewhere like that, where you have to put a $2,000 deposit down and take a test before you come in case you have to quarantine. They do a test on arrival and you have to quarantine, they've got your deposit. So we're looking a lot towards domestic travel. That's where we're going to be the future here of travel for a while. So for Americans, road trips are back. Welcome, Mama, welcome to the 60s. That's the song from Hairspray. That's a niche reference. If y'all get the song from Hairspray, you're my kind of audience. That's a very niche reference, but we are looking at the road trips. We're looking at the kind of rebirth. I did an episode the other week on some great USA road trips you can take. Nashville's always on the list, I have to say. Nashville is a great place to stop and see. I'm a big fan of Texas. I'm a big fan of the Midwest. I'm a big fan of the kind of East Coast in the fall, the colors changing. Beautiful, beautiful road trips you can take. So you can learn more about that on my website, thebrandenscott.com, or you can go back and watch a couple of episodes ago here on IBMTV. So we're looking, if you've got a way to stockpile gas, I don't know if that's a thing people can do. I don't think that's possible. Or you're thinking about getting a new RV or a new car, new camping setup. Now's the time to do it. Between now and I would say between now and spring is the time to do it, because once we start to get into spring and if we do start to see some sort of effective vaccine coming out in the next year or so, we're going to see that market zoom through the roof. Gas is going to go up. Car prices are going to go up. Camping gear is going to go up. Everybody's going to be wanting to take those trips. So get it now. Get it now while you can. Even overseas, you're likely to see smaller localized trips happening a lot. You might not see as many road trips. I know famously, when I was in the UK, it seemed like the sense of time was warped because I would say to them we would go. I went all around the UK. It was like 2 months, and I went from all the way from Aberdeen, Scotland, all the way down to Exeter and Brighton Beach. So we went all over. It was like 2 hours was a long road trip for some of these UKers. That was a long time to spend in the car. So we might see train travel jump really high in Europe and in Asia as well. Shorter train travel. There's something about it's more affordable usually than an airline ticket for kind of short, jumpy here to there spots. But there's something about I think psychologically about the ability to like just get off, which you can't do on a plane or on a cruise ship. If you're on a train, next stop, you could just get off if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel like you're not vibing, right? So it's kind of like just one step, below car, I think, where you can just have that power to, I'm just out. So I think there's something psychologically there too. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not sure. But with this big peak in domestic travel, there is one thing we all will have in common. And here we go. We're talking about the future of travel today here on IBMTV. We're talking all about the future. Big scary place. Hotels. Bum, bum, bum. That's probably not a great place to bum, 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 right? I should get a soundboard for myself and just have like the 90s radio disc jockeys, and they have a little soundboard. They'll push a button and get like the laughs and whatever. So let's talk a little bit about hotels. Hotels. Everywhere, I think worldwide, we're going to see a change in the way we operate at hotels and at resorts. We've already seen some of these changes take place by some of the major chains. We used to have this idea that we wanted hotel lobbies to be like warm and comfortable and like bright, but like with dark wood. We wanted them to feel modern, but like cozy and kind of warm. Even a great hotel is Grand Hyatt in San Antonio. It's a beautiful hotel. When you walk in, it's this huge modern space, but it's still this kind of warm feeling. They've got warm decor. I think now we're going to see in the future a lot more clinical design, a lot more kind of custodial design, a lot more industrial design. And there's some historical precedent for this. Are you ready? I'm going to blow your mind. You didn't know you were getting Branden's history lesson today. But here we are. Civics with Branden 101. Welcome to Civics. I need my glasses. I'll put on my... Welcome to Civics 101. I got headphones on. I can't put my There we go. Welcome to Civics 101. I'm your professor today. Fun fact, you know how a lot of suburban modern houses have half baths downstairs, half baths in like the kitchen or near the garage or kind of near the entryway. There's like not a full bath, just like a toilet and sink. That actually started after the 1918 pandemic. Designers started to favor the half bath idea downstairs because it was your guest bathroom. Your guests could come in, or if you had a delivery man coming in to your house, they could go in there and kind of wash their hands before they came into the rest of the house. And that started to become really, really popular. And the idea was if you had someone there, they didn't have to go up to the family bathroom. They could just pop in, use the guest bathroom, and not spread their germs. That was something we changed in the United States after the 1918 flu pandemic. So we may see some of these changes, in hotels. There is some historical precedent for this, moving from an area of warmth and kind of coziness to a much colder, kind of clean scene in hotels. Lots of disinfectant. You're going to smell a lot of disinfectant probably for a while. We're looking at things like pins and knickknacks, things that are likely to be touched by other guests to be replaced with sanitizing wipes, to be replaced with hand sanitizer. We're looking at, a lot of these small tourist hotels that have gift shops, a lot of that changing. Major hotel companies have already started playing around, Hilton's and Hyatt's, and who's the one that Wyndham's the other one. That's a pretty major one that started playing around with different ways to clean, like electrostatic sprays, ultraviolet light to sanitize things. The other thing we're going to see change here, the big change that you'll notice as a consumer of the travel world, is I think you're going to notice a faceless hospitality system. And we're going to notice that there'll be a lot less engagement in hospitality. So if you're one of those people who really likes, who really likes going into hotels and chatting with the front desk agent, and the bellman helps you with the luggage, and the concierge helps you get your steak or whatever you're after that night, you're going to see, I think, a lot more faceless interaction to encourage their social distancing. So Marriott, for example, is offering contact-free room service. A lot of hotels are starting to offer a lot of apps. Hilton, of course, has a digital key that they've been playing around with for the last few years. It hasn't been very popular. We're going to see that take off, where your phone, you get your Apple Pay on your phone, it becomes your room key. So you just get an alert, your room is ready, and this is the room number. And there you go. You walk up to the room and tap and enter. They're also, Hilton's going to plan on sealing the doors like you do. You ever like... This is, again, listen, I'm on it with the niche references today. That's what I'm here for. Go buy the merchandise just for the niche references. You ever go to an event, a trip, a field trip as a high school or college student, and the chaperones would put like painter's tape on the door and sign it? Basically, that's what Hilton's going to do. They're going to put some sort of seal on the door with a little logo, so you know that nobody has gone into the room since it was last sanitized and cleaned. Which, plot twist, that's pretty standard at hotels. We don't, if we send a guest to a room and they don't like the room, we have housekeeping go back and reinspect it again anyway. I say we, but hotels do that. So that's more, I think, theater, to make people feel better. But we are going to see, I think, a lot of that. We're going to see, the Marriott's, the app, you can get your room service. It's going to come to your door like Uber Eats. It's alert, it's at the door, and you pick it up and bring it in and you set it back out. A lot less contact, faceless kind of hospitality system, which I don't think is such a bad thing, right? I mean, we've kind of started moving towards that anyway with things like Airbnbs, where you kind of show up and get a code and you go. That's the other thing. I don't know how many of you, leave a comment in the stream, how many of you are big Airbnbers or home shares, or I think the early 2000s versions of this was the timeshare. Everybody was big into the timeshares, where they would go buy, a condo with 27 other people for 2 weeks out of the year. And the Airbnb model kind of changed and revolutionized that. But I think we're going to see a big difference there. And I don't know how it's going to go. It's either, I think, going to be huge. It's either going to be a huge difference in the positive direction or the negative direction. We're either, I think, going to see people feel more comfortable with the idea of going into a place where there's nobody there, getting the key and going in and having their own cleaning supplies, their own area, their own space to kind of sanitize and feel comfortable and cleaner. Or we're going to see the hosts and the people who own these properties go, I'm not really comfortable with people being in my home. I don't know which way it's going to go, but it's definitely going to go in one of those directions. So that'll be really interesting to see what happens in the kind of Airbnb model of travel. I do think that, hotels for sure, we're going to see a lot of difference. I think we're going to see a lot more in the area of housekeeping. We may even see some smaller hotels have already played around with this. They either will limit housekeeping. So think like, what's the chain that does extended stays? Homewood Suites, those kind of Candlewood Suites, those kind of extended stay hotels already have some of this in place. But I think we're going to see mainstream transient hotels and motels go to housekeeping every 3 days. So if you're staying there, you only get housekeeping every couple of days to minimize contact with the housekeepers. I think we're also going to maybe see check-in times change. So kind of standard checkout of 11 and check-in of 3. You might see that expand. And now check-in is going to be 4 because you're going to have more time cleaning and deep cleaning the room, or maybe not, but just to make you feel like they are. So that's something we're going to see a lot of. We're going to see a lot of, I think, touchless check-in. So apps like the Hilton has digital key where you get the alert, your room's ready, tap, tap, go in. Some of these worldwide hotels are going to, I think, have a lot of faceless check-ins, kind of like an airport kiosk where you can go up and tap in your information and scan with your ID and whatever and get a card there to go to the room. So, the other thing we've heard rumors of are the robots. The robots coming to take us all. No, I'm just kidding. So we've heard rumors are clean. We don't have a lot there. We've heard rumors that this is fun, that robots are going to be Someone said this New York Times article. I can't remember who, and I'll post it on my Twitter if you do want to read the whole thing. They said they could imagine a world where robots loaded all of the carry-on baggage onto the plane before anybody got onto the plane, so that we don't have to fuss around with the overhead bins. I don't think we're there yet. There's kind of fun utopian ideas of robots cleaning rooms, cleaning the hotel rooms. I don't think we're there yet either. It's kind of a novel, fun Fahrenheit 451 concept, but we're definitely not at that point. So with some of those changes, travel is going to look a lot different. So this is why I say, when I did the episode on road trips, the other week, and some of the content I've been posting on my website, this is why I say we're going to be looking a lot at vacations people can take by themselves independently of other people or companies, right? So national parks, we're going to be looking big into camping. We're going to be looking big into glamping, which is something you'll see the luxury travel YouTubers do, the glampers. I've been glamping a few times. It's actually really fun, but yeah, I always feel guilty while I'm doing it. I feel like I'm eating too much avocado toast, and I'm a darn millennial when I'm glamping. But I think we're going to see a move towards that environment, a place where people can, hop in an RV if they want to and drive around, and they don't have to engage with other folks, other people. They can kind of be safe on their own terms. Even just the road trips with people, pitching a tent. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. Or road trips with people staying, exclusively at Airbnbs if they do take that positive swing. So it's going to be a really unique world for travel here in the next 5 to 10 years, which means you better be tuning in every Tuesday at 11, so you can get some of those travel tips and you can get some of that advice. The real question here is a question for you, the viewers, right? The travelers, the people who are interested in traveling. Are you going to buy into it, do you think? I haven't decided for myself yet if I'm going to buy into it. The extra safety protocols at airports, the redesign of check-in, the cleaner hotels, the safer... Are you going to buy into it? Will you buy into it? Leave a comment below here on the stream. Let me know. Is this something you're going to buy into? Do you think you're going to feel... do you think there is a level of cleaning theater that will make you feel comfortable traveling again? I say cleaning theater because... we have so much information now that aerosol spread is the primary kind of spread of this pandemic, and that surface spread is lower risk. So it's good to clean and wash your hands and be safe and be cautious, but that kind of extra level of sealing a door with tape to let you know that nobody's been in it since it's cleaned. Is that something you would buy into, you think? I feel like it's I don't know. The other thing we have to talk about, and I'm going to do a whole episode on this, is travel insurance. The pitfalls, the many, 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 many pitfalls of travel insurance. Many travelers in this pandemic were infuriated, were frustrated, were incredibly upset to discover that their travel insurance meant nothing. They just didn't help them at all. It did not cover a worldwide pandemic. They were on their own financially. And actually, so fun story. Here we go. I've got 10 minutes left and I'm going on another tangent. Look out. Pew, pew, pew. So fun story. When the US announced that travel from Europe was going to cease, I was in Spain. So I had, within about 24 hours from that announcement, I went from having weeks and weeks planned in Europe and like 3 months planned in Bali and like 3 months planned in South America to being on a plane back to the States. And let me tell you, those flights were expensive. I had a friend at Charles de Gaulle in Paris who, when that announcement came, tried to buy a plane ticket home to the States. And the plane tickets there were as high as $10,000 to $15,000 for an economy seat the next day to make that deadline of the shutdown. So people who had travel insurance were not happy. And I think people started to find out that it's not really a good deal in really any situation, many situations. It's usually very expensive, and it's usually full of exclusions, you gotchas, little legalese to make sure that they don't really have to cover very much. and I think that it took a big hit on consumers when they realized that their travel insurance wasn't going to help them. That unless they had an appendectomy and needed an emergency evacuation, and they would cover a small percentage of that, that it wasn't going to help them with something like this. And I think that the confidence in travel insurers really went down. Airlines and hotels came to the rescue, truly here. They changed policies, like that, to start refunding people, make it easier to cancel, make it easier to get credit or rebook or all this kind of stuff. Even Airbnb kind of famously made the big shift when this happened of saying, okay, we're just going to refund it. We're just going to let anybody who's affected by this get a refund, period. That was a big hit to them to do. But they're the ones who really swooped in. So I think people really kind of devalue their travel insurance. I'm like, it's not a good deal. It didn't help. When I needed it, it wasn't there, which is what insurance was supposed to do. So are you going to buy into it? Are you going to get travel insurance again? Here's the thing about travel insurance, and I'm going to do a whole episode on this, but you got to really focus. You got to read the whole thing. There's no way around it. If you tick the box on the website, sign your name, you probably aren't getting any insurance for anything you'll actually need. You got to read through the whole thing. Read that fine print, because you got to really explain what happens if I need this insurance plan. When will it kick in? I think that's going to change as well a lot here in the future. I think it's going to be very, very different. I think it's going to be very, very strange to see the world of travel here in the future. I think it's going to be very strange to experience the world of travel in the next 5 to 10 years. Lucky for you, I've got lots of ideas. So if you haven't already, hop on over to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, or visit my website. You can buy some cool swag there, and I can give you some tips and tricks and all sorts of fun advice on how to get the best deals, how to plan the best vacations. I've got lots and lots of thoughts of travel. I mean, I've been doing it full time for almost half a decade. Wow, I'm so old. Oh, I'm so old. Run free, old Yeller, run free. It's more like Free Willy after this quarantine. Am I right? I mean, my goodness, I'm ballooning. Anyway, I've traveled for a while, so I've got a lot of thoughts on, I think, where travel can go, and how we can still travel and do so in a safe and responsible manner. As always, as I seem to end kind of every show with a few thoughts, please don't travel now. I know you're dying to get out there. I know you want to go, and you want to #explore. But I think that it's just not the time. Plan your trip. Plan it carefully. If you're going to get travel insurance, read the whole policy, really think about where you want to go, watch all my stuff and get inspired. But don't do it right now. We've got a lot of other, countries that are still suffering, and we don't want to reintroduce more problems into their area. We've got states that have different levels of spread of the pandemic. So just stay home, wear your mask, stay home, do what you can to continue to slow the spread until things start to subside, until we have some sort of vaccine or reasonable treatment, something that we can do that'll make everyone feel a little bit safer and a little bit better. So thank you for watching this week, and hopefully you feel optimistic, I think, about the future of travel. Hopefully you feel confident about kind of learning some of these travel tips and hacks, being able to use them in a way that will keep you safe, that will keep you healthy and happy, and also give you the best trip. It's for me, travel is all about connecting with others, people who are different than ourselves, learning more from them, learning about them, and learning how we can be better people. So it's hard when you take that element of travel and you put a big barrier there and you say, we can't do that now. We can't visit that place and go out onto the streets and meet the locals and, actually have those interactions. Makes it really tough, and it changes travel a lot. And people, I think, are really it's going to be a hard place for tourism to rebound in some areas. I think we're going to see it shift a lot. So if you've always wanted to take a long trip to a national park or a beach vacation, I've got those tips. So don't forget to tune in every Tuesday here at 11. That's all for the show this week. If you want more information on how to travel safely, affordably, and fun, you can visit thebrandonscott.com or just search my name on the YouTubes. I'm there. I'm chilling on the YouTubes for weekly videos, weekly posts, all the best, most up-to-date travel information, and of course, every Tuesday here on IBMTV at 11. The kind folks at IBM where lovely enough to give me a platform to shout into the void of the internet in a different area, on a different platform, to help you out, to give you some tips to travel. I do think it's important that we start traveling again. Not now. I think we need to stay home now, but I think that once we start to get a vaccine, once we start to see the pandemic subside over the next year or so, I think we need to, help some of those economies that really heavily rely on tourism. I mean, we've got economies not just around the world, but here at home, towns, locations, resort areas that rely so heavily on tourism dollars. Orlando is a great example. In Florida, they're the kind of quote unquote one ticket town with Disney, SeaWorld, and all the theme parks. And there even Disney's laying off thousands of people. So, these markets need your help. They need your support more than ever. Most of us who work in the travel industries, have been out of work for 6 months, and we're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. So when we start to get to the point where it's safe to travel, and I'll be the first to wave the flag, the checkered flag is what you wave when you win. What's the flag you wave to go? Green? Does anybody watch NASCAR? Leave a comment in the stream. I don't know. I don't know what kind of flag you watch. I don't know. Whatever. I'll be the first to wave the flag to go start traveling again, but not right now. But when we do, I just want to encourage you to take that leap. If you haven't been on a trip, maybe before you haven't treat yourself to a nice vacation. Maybe you haven't done a nice proper vacation before. Now's the time, if you're still working, to start saving money, to start planning. So that way in the next year, you have a nice chunk of money saved and you're ready to go on that big trip. I think it is important to help save some of those heavy tourism towns and countries. If you're living in a country that is heavily reliant on tourism, you know how it is. You know how tough it is. You know how many of your friends and family have been out of work. So definitely do travel again in the future. Don't be afraid to travel, but don't travel right now. We're not there yet. We need you to stay at home right now. And the good news for you is you can stay at home and you can watch all my content online and pretend you're traveling. You could just put on one of my videos and close your eyes and it's like what's that ASMR? It's like ASMR. It's like it's like a meditation podcast. Close your eyes and listen to my video and pretend it's you traveling in that country. That's what I do sometimes when I'm sad. I've also listen, I'm gonna go on Shark Tank because I have the most comically bad business idea ever. Are you ready for this? I'm gonna make an app. It's gonna cost $1,000, and when you download the app, all it is endless 90-hour loops of airplane noise. Huh? 90 hours of and occasionally a baby crying and occasionally a stewardess going, excuse me, sir, would you like pretzels? I think that would make everybody feel better, right? Nick, one of the founders here at IBMTV, pointed out the other week that people are doing flights to nowhere, where they just kind of fly around because people do miss flying. I know I miss flying. I look up in the sky and think, I want to be there. And we will be there soon, but we can only get there if you stay home, if you stay safe, if you wear your mask, if you socially distance. I know you want to go. I know you want to travel now, but now is not the time. So in the meantime, head on over to that website, head on over to my YouTube channel and watch all those videos there, and join me every week here at 11 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, where we're going to talk about the best of travel. I have some exciting episodes coming up in the next few weeks. I do think an episode on how to flee the country if you want to, if you're an American, would be fun. And we can talk a little bit about immigration on both sides, from coming into the country and leaving the country. But I do think, in the future, we've got some fun episodes planned that will hopefully make you feel a little bit better. I know today was a little rough because we looked at the future of travel, and it's not great, but it's not awful, but it's not great. It's not as uppity as my usual show is here on IBMTV. So I've got some big uppers planned. We've got some fun stuff planned. We're going to do some fun reviewing of cities and foods. We're going to talk a little bit about organizing a trip once you're actually there, where to go to find fun experiences and events. push you outside of your comfort zone a little bit. So every Tuesday here at 11 a.m. Eastern, don't forget to tune in to the IBMTV live show, Best of Travel. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great week. I hope you pop on over to that YouTube channel, and we can have a nice little chat there. You can see some of the other content. And if you do really like stuff, if you really love it, yeah, there you go. Look at me wearing my own merchandise. I'm like George Lucas in Star Wars. Look, buy the merchandise. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next week at 11 here on the Best of Travel on IBM TV. My name's Branden. I'm a world traveler, foodie, and YouTuber. Together, you and I will find the best travel hacks, tips, and best places to explore. Join me as we find new adventures together, live only on IBM.TV.